Okay, Adrian,
Nice to meet
welcome.
you all. Thanks.
And why don't we move to Anya? Hi, Anya, my new sailor. She's been sailing a lot this summer with us. So Anya, just introduce yourself. We have some new people in the room, and just tell us how you're doing today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anya de Chavigny, and I am from Haiti. I know some of the students here because we go to HALT together. I've been sailing a lot with Michael, and I can't wait to do it in the following weeks before it gets super cold. So let me know about that. And I had a nice day. I went to work early this morning, and then I came home. And I've been relaxing ever since. So my day has been pretty nice.
Okay, great. Let's move to Ziv. Hi, Ziv.
Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. Yep. And now I'm in Boston, and I will attend Holt as most of you. But now I'm a little nervous, but also excited about that. I have a bachelor about physics in China, but now I have to join a business school. I know nothing about that. Yeah, that's it.
Ziv, if you can do physics, business is like easy. I mean, it's going to be easy. So yeah, feel free to relax and be like, oh my God, like why do they make more money than physicists?
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You are in good company.
100%.
100%, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Camilla, hi.
Hi everyone, I'm Cami Perez. I'm from Bolivia. I'm currently in Bentley, which is another business school in Waltham. I transferred from Holt. My major is finance. And something about today, it wasn't very productive. I procrastinated a lot yesterday on quizzes I had to do. So today wasn't like the best day ever, but it's like okay, because I managed to do well on my quizzes and I finished my homework, so I'm happy about that. What else? I'm into filmmaking and photography as well. And I'm hoping to minor in media productions here in Bentley. So yeah, that's
Excellent. You're in a great place. Good to see you again. Jen, would you like to introduce yourself and tell the class a little bit about you?
Okay, hello everyone, my name is Jen. I come from China. Later I will study at Hall, majoring about business, and before I have a company in China. So I'm very excited at here. So thank you.
So Jen has taken a few of my classes at Holt, and she owns a successful pet food company in China. And so if you ever get a pet, buy the food from her.
Okay, thank you.
And then next, let's move to Shin in Tokyo. Hi, Shin.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Shin. I'm in Tokyo. I'm Japanese. And I work at East Japan Railway Company for 7.5 years so far. Yeah, first of all, I used to be a bread train engineer. It's like fast speed train engineer for 4 years, and then terminal station staff for 2 years. And then now I work for the HR department for 1.5 years. And actually, I was in Boston to study English, but just for 6 weeks in February. Yeah, so yeah, today, yeah, Michael invited me this class, so excited. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Shin is like the most industrious English learning student I've ever met. So whenever I give him an opportunity, he's like, yes. So his English has gotten really, really good in a very short period of time. And let's move to Tan. Tan, are you able to unmute and introduce yourself? She's actually one of my classmates.
Hi. I'm muting. Sorry. So hi, I'm one of Michael's classmates, and I could see how he's your favorite professor because he is equally funny as a student as he is a teacher. My day has been pretty good. crazy busy, and but got to do this, so very excited. And I got to see him in a shirt and a tie, so we never see that.
No.
Say hi.
Hi. Hey,
That was my nephew. So, I am doing a family thing right now. So I'm going to hop off and not drive anybody crazy. But I love this, Michael. This is so cool. I really, really love it. So I hope you guys will let me drop in again in the future. And
we'd love
that
to
would be
see it.
awesome.
We're recording it as well. We're going to try to do this every week. So yeah, just drop in if you can make it, and no guilt if you can't. And I look forward to seeing you Sunday in New York City at the picnic.
Yes, I can't wait.
Exciting.
All right, thank you guys for letting me pop in and kind of hover a little bit. Thanks again, and enjoy your night.
Bye, Tan.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, so let's begin. I'm excited so many of you came. As you know, I'm a teacher, but now I'm a student, and it's really exciting because positive psychology is only about maybe 20 years old, but my teachers actually invented the subject. So Martin Seligman is the father of positive psychology. So basically, I'm kind of like learning from Sigmund Freud. And what helps me be a better student is to teach it the minute I learn it. So what I'm doing is that I'm going to be teaching you what I learned in the next year. And it's a lot of fun. They only took 47 students this year. It was about 1 seat available to 5 applicants. The tuition is ridiculous. It's $70,000 for a year. So I pay attention to everything they say to me. But what I want to do now is just share with you some things that are going to benefit you right away, specifically helping that inner voice be nicer and raise your GPA. So I want to just go around the room and just briefly kind of tell me a little bit about your inner voice, the voice that's always chattering in your head. And I'll start us off that I have a horrible inner voice. It always says, you're not good enough. And if you did do something well, there's some funny reason why you did well. Like you didn't really earn it. It's like, well, you did well in the class because everyone else did worse. It's not that you're smart. So I'm always making excuses why my accomplishments aren't really good. I never pat myself on the back. I worry that the world's going to fall apart and I'm going to be homeless. And it's pretty nasty. But I have learned from a friend, I asked him what his inner voice was like. And I said something like, your nasty inner voice. And he said, well, mine's kind of nice. And that was when I started to realize people's inner voice is different. Mine's really mean to me. And I'm curious to know, what is your inner voice like to you? Like, what kind of things does it say to you? Cami, do you want to start us off?
Okay. I guess my inner voice is always, like you say, sometimes I'm mean to myself, but on the other hand, it's half-half. Sometimes I'm like, no, you probably can do it. You're not well prepared enough. You don't have the knowledge for this or whatever. But then I have this other side, which is like, no, you can totally do it. It's possible. So it's always a debate in my head of you can do it. But at the same time, I don't know, it's like overthinking. And I don't know, maybe, yeah, I would say overthinking. It's like half-half.
Half-half.
People would, yeah.
I'll trade you. Okay, Anya, what's your inner voice like?
Well, I will say that it changed over the years. I feel like when I was in high school, it was always bringing me down. Like, how am I going to pass this? I don't know, because you always see other people succeeding, having better grades, and me, I was always comparing myself to other people. But then I don't know, when I started college, I became more confident about myself and loving myself a lot. So my inner voice now is super powerful, and every time that I feel down or something, I feel like I can do something, I'm like, it's just a challenge, you're gonna do it. I mean, I'm majoring in finance now, and this is so weird. If I'm like thinking like 5 years ago, telling this to myself. So it's like, I don't know, it's like always pushing me forward.
Great. So Anya's bringing up an interesting point that your inner voice can change. And I'm going to teach you tonight, if you don't like how your inner voice talks to you, I'm going to help you change the inner voice tonight. It takes a while, but I'm going to show you the tools tonight on how that works. Adrian, would you like to share with us what your inner voice is like?
Sure. Well, I agree also with Anya that it can change. Maybe for me, it's more depending on the situation. For example, on like talking about work, I think it feels like proud of myself of all the things that I've done till this point on my life, but also it's this kind of inner voice that is always worrying about stuff, or am I doing the right thing? Like I like what I'm doing, but then I start overthinking like a lot of stuff and worrying about some other situations. And for example, I don't know, it's very different, but on like personal life, like when I do some sports, for example, when I was riding my bike on the mountain, like this last weekend, my inner voice is really negative. It's like, oh, Adrian, why did you came up here? Like, you can't do this. You're not well prepared. Like, trying to tell me like just to give up. But then finally, I always make it. But it's always the same thing. I just bought my mountain bike like 1 month ago, 2 months ago, and I've been going like really often to the mountain to go for a bike ride with some friends, and it's always the same, like really negative. But then at last, I I I finished what I was supposed to do, and I'm really happy, and I'm like, okay, I can do it. But then the next time is the same, like, no, why are you here again? So I think it's also depending the situation, right?
Great. This is all normal stuff. This is all just part of being a human being. Jessica, tell us about your inner voice.
Yeah, of course. I actually have a different approach. Not sure if I should like bring it in the circle or like bring it here, but I do a lot of circling. I'm not sure if you guys are aware with what that is. So it's interpersonal meditation. So, and I also do life coaching. So one of the things that my life coach has taught me is that everyone has different parts. So that's the way like I have my relationship with my inner voices. So like if there's like this one voice that's like really aggressive and can do everything, I call her like boss bitch. And like that channels in sometimes. And if it's not, it's like baby Jess or whatever. So like I name them, and by naming them, it just helps me understand kind of the relationship between everything. And it's just like, it's naming them. It's like, I know I don't have 6 people inside of me.
Yeah.
It's just like a way I think about it.
Great. I love that. Jessica, thank you. And Karen just popped in. Karen, welcome. Just to catch you up, we're just going around the room, just kind of sharing a little bit about ourselves, you know, where we're from, why we're here, and also the inner voice that we have in our head. Like, is it nice? Is it mean? And I started us off that I have an inner voice that's pretty mean. It says, you can't do it. If I do accomplish something right, it's like, yeah, you didn't really deserve it anyhow. Some other people in the room have a half inner voice where they're saying, yeah, it says mean things, and then sometimes it says nice things. Sometimes people's inner voices have changed. So we'll keep going around the room, and you'll start to hear what people say, and then we'd like to hear what you think. Ziv, tell us about your inner voice.
My inner voice, you mean the sound in my brain?
Yeah, when you're talking to you.
They mostly say, where should I go and what should I do? Very confusing, very confused situation. And
okay.
And it's not good. Sometimes it will stagnate here. All the things will stop with this questioning, because I cannot always get the answer just based on thinking about it. Sometimes I have to do it, then I can get something closer to the answer. So I don't like my inner voice that much, I guess. Yeah.
Bringing more confusion than clarity.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. Maria, tell us about your inner voice.
I'm sorry, I have a new computer and I don't know how to use it. That's why
That's okay.
I'm like, I used to use Mac and now I have an HP, so I don't understand. So, so my inner voice is really negative. It's pessimistic.
Mhm.
Every time I do something good, my inner voice is like, next time you will do like really bad. I try sometimes to avoid it when I listen to music, when I meditate, but when I do yoga, but sometimes it's too strong that I just have to go to sleep.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, well, we're going to try to fix that tonight, or at least give you some ways to change that. Let's go to Shin. Shin, tell us about your inner voice.
First of all, I'm so sorry. I don't understand inner voice mean. Sorry.
Do you ever talk to yourself in your head?
Mhm.
Like when you're quiet and you're thinking, what should I do today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that voice, is it nice to you? Is it mean to you? Is it friendly, not friendly?
It depends on the case, but normally it's nice to me. But sometimes most of all Japanese, tend to overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I but but normally good to me.
Okay, so
But
mostly
it's
nice,
hard
but
to explain. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
mostly nice, but a lot of overthinking, which is similar to Ziv. You know, it talks a lot. Okay,
Yes.
beautiful. And Jen, can you tell us about your inner voice?
Okay, my inner voice maybe is positive because if I run a lot of problems, I will calm down and listen to my inner voice. Always, I will believe my inner voice and to do that. Yeah.
Great, love it. Karen, hi. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group and tell us about your inner voice?
Yes. Hi, my name is Karen and I'm streaming in from Kenya. It's 2 a.m. right now.
Thanks for waking up.
Yeah. So my inner voice changes with time, but it's more of an overthinking one, especially if I'm thinking about something that is challenging and people say it's not, if it's a challenging situation, something that I cannot do because of environmental circumstances, and people do say it's challenging, then I get motivated to do the task.
Beautiful.
But when people say it's easy, then I don't do the task, which is bad. So my inner voice speaks when people see hard things, so I get to challenge myself even more. But when it's a situation where people do accept it's easy, then I don't think I should do it, because if everyone can do it, then I should do it. It always wants me to be an extraordinary, something like that.
Yeah, you have because like, yeah, I'm with you. We're sharing a voice here. Excellent. Okay, so everyone seems to have, you see that the inner voice can be really different. And now I'm going to get into the lecture where I'm just going to be sharing with you some thoughts from the University of Pennsylvania that could be helpful to you. So we just did welcome and networking. Now we're going to be talking about the relationship between optimism and success, which will help increase your GPA. And then we're going to be talking about the inner voice. So this is all related to inner voice. So let's start off. This is going to be based on information from the University of Pennsylvania, the Master of Applied Positive Psychology program. My professor is Martin Seligman, and tonight's lecture is going to be about learned optimism. So if we feel that our inner voice is sometimes pessimistic or it's not very nice to us, that's pessimism. But some people in the room have an optimistic voice or a nice voice. And you can learn how to make your inner voice actually be nicer and kinder to yourself. And so we're going to take a look at some scientific studies that just kind of look at the inner voice, how it works, And then we're going to share with you how you might be able to change it for your benefit. So this is a lecture that I give at Harvard University, and it's based on how to predict and hire successful salespeople. So this lecture in the beginning is a case study about how to make more money with the way you think through optimism. So in this experiment, the question that a company came to us was, they came to Penn, they said, how can we identify which job applicants will keep going in the face of constant rejection and failure? So some people keep going and some people give up, like all of us in this room. Sometimes we give up, but sometimes we keep going. How can you tell and predict who's going to do it? And the answer is going to be based on the research study that they did. Now, what they found at the University of Pennsylvania is that optimists are more successful than pessimists. Now, this can switch back and forth. Sometimes we're optimistic about certain parts of our lives and we do well there, but in other parts of our lives, we could be pessimistic. And the goal here is just to be mindful that the more optimistic we can be, the more successful we can be, and we can change the way we think. So if you're very pessimistic, you're just in the right place to listen to this lecture. So this could actually be a helpful thing for you. Now, MetLife is a very large insurance company in the United States. Every year, 60,000 people try to get a job selling life insurance at MetLife. Only 5,000 people per year are hired, which is only 8.3%. But here's the problem. 50% of these people quit in the first year. They give up. 80% of them quit or give up at the end of the fourth year. Now, it costs $30,000 to train each person that they hire. So it costs MetLife $75 million per year in people who quit, who they never should have hired in the beginning. So now they ask themselves, could we do a better job in hiring the right people? Now, here's what happens when salespeople quit, and ask yourself if this is how you quit in certain areas of your life. So every day you're hearing a lot of no, you're having a lot of failures. I'm not doing well on the test. I'm not getting my internship. I'm not getting in the job. I'm hearing no, no, no. And you start to feel discouraged. It starts to hurt your feelings. But now you need more effort if you're a salesperson to make the next call, or more effort to apply for the next internship. It's harder to try again. It's just harder to try again. And then procrastination sets in. This is where we start to say, oh, I'm not going to try today. I know I should, but I don't want to, because we don't want to get rejected again. And then our manager might say to us, you're not making your phone calls, you're not working, or your mom or dad says, you're not applying for the internship, or your dean says, you're not trying enough, you're not keeping going. And this only makes things worse. They're just pointing out what we already know. And then we start to think about quitting. And then the next challenge comes, the salesperson cannot overcome the challenge, and we quit. So this is just the standard role of why we give up. This is very typical in human beings. It's a slow process, but it goes in the same direction. Now, in the book Learned Optimism, they have a questionnaire called the Attributional Style Questionnaire. And what they do is that they measure deep pessimism, I'm no good, to irrepressible optimism, I'm amazing at everything I do. So it's this wide range of I can't do anything to I can do anything. Now, the more optimism you have, the more persistence you will have. You'll keep trying, and you will be immune to feeling helpless. So this is a formula that we're going to try to tap into this evening. Now, an optimist, think of someone that has a happy inner voice. This is what they say to themselves when they hear the word no. So imagine that we're trying to sell someone life insurance, or we're trying to sell them dog food, or we're trying to sell them a subscription to Netflix. When you hear no, the optimist would say, oh, the prospect was too busy right now. They already have insurance, but 8 out of 10 people are uninsured. They need insurance. I must have called at a bad time, or they don't figure out what the no means. They just keep on going. But a pessimist will say things like this: I'm no good. No one wants to buy insurance from me. I can't get to first base. I'm a failure. I'm stupid. I'm not good enough. So this is the different things that the inner voice says between a pessimist and an optimist. Now, what they do to test people at MetLife who are applying for a job is they will give them 12 questions. 6 questions are good things happen to you. So they would say, Shin, you just became rich, or Shin, someone just gave you a free vacation, and it's all good news. And you have to choose on this exam why the good thing happened. So Shin might say, well, people like me, or I got lucky. But then they'll also go through 6 bad things happen. So let's say it goes to Ziv, and they'll say, Ziv, you had a bad date and you got fired from your job, and you have to choose on this quiz in multiple choice why it happened. And what they try to do is try to explore what your inner voice is like what kind of things do you say to yourself when you do well, and what sort of things do you say to yourself when you don't do well. And what they're studying are 3 parts of your inner voice. One is how you personalize information, permanence, and pervasiveness. So I'm going to explain what these strange words mean. So for personalization, let's say what you'll do is that you'll say that there's an internal cause or an external cause. So let's say that Shin does really well on a quiz, and someone says, Shin, why did you do well on the quiz? He might say, because I'm smart, because I worked hard. That's his internal cause, me, inside. But he could also say, well, the quiz was easy. Everyone got an A, and that would be an external cause. So this is starting to look at the logic and the reasoning between the optimists and the pessimists. So let's say that we have a bad date. So let's talk for a second to Adrian. So let's say that Adrian goes on a Tinder date, and it doesn't go very well. So this is what Adrian would say if he's an optimist. The date didn't go very well, and he would say, well, I didn't really like them. I didn't like that person. But if Adrian was in a pessimistic mood, he would say, I'm unlovable. And that's a lot different kind of thing to say to your inner voice. Now notice this is what we say on the internal side. On the external side, an optimist would say, well, the date went bad because we had a bad restaurant server and they wrecked the evening. So we're blaming somebody else. We're not blaming ourselves. A pessimist would say, online dating doesn't like me. So you see how the excuses with a pessimist are, I'm the problem. With an optimist, they point it out and say, something else was the problem. It's not me, it's somebody else. So this is where internal and external become a part of optimism and pessimism. Now in this next example, this is the part of permanence. This is another part of our inner voice. So let's say that you didn't get a job. So Maria, I remember that you were looking for internships last time we met, and you were having a hard time getting internships, remember? So feel free to unmute your mic and we'll just chat about this. So what kind of things were you saying to yourself when you weren't getting the internships? What was the inner voice saying to you? What kinds of things were you saying?
So at first, like on December, I was really pessimistic and I said to myself, like, I'm not going to apply anymore. But like on February, before everything's happened, I said, like, I need to get one for summer. I did get it. I got 6 offers, but I had to accept only one that was virtual. But I'm really proud of myself and I'm doing more now.
Good for you. Good for you. So
like I didn't let that inner voice to stop me.
Excellent. So good for you that you got 6 job offers, but you also were saying, I'm giving up. And that's something that pessimists do, is that they say, I'm not going to apply anymore because what's the point? So pessimistic thinking when you don't get a job would be things like, I'll never get a job. The word never, meaning that's forever. I wasn't good enough. So this is some permanent things that they say. An optimist would say something like, I don't think the job was good for me, or I'm a great employee for the right job. This just wasn't the right job for me. So we start to see through the experiments that pessimists say that things are permanent, like it's always going to be bad. But an optimist makes it temporary. It's not permanent. It's just this one time that I didn't get the job. Now, here's pervasive, and this is something that happened to me, and we'll go with Anya because Anya sails with me. So one day I did a really bad job sailing, and actually Anya was on the boat with me when we almost had an accident and we almost hit something. Remember that, Anya? That was my birthday.
I do.
So I didn't do a very good job sailing. Now, a pessimist could say, I'm a bad sailor. I'm bad at everything. But Anya, what happened? What was bad with the sailing that day? Why did we have such a hard time? What was my reason?
Well, the motor wasn't working and we were blown away into a port that was kind of where we would hit a lot of things. But you did a really good job by keeping us calm and like calling for help, which like kind of helped everyone to stay focused and not panic, especially that we are in water. So I think you were optimistic and during the situation, because if you were pessimistic, I feel like everyone would have panicked and everything would have went even worse than it did. But in the end, everything went good.
Now, who did I blame for the bad sailing? Did I blame myself or something else?
You blamed the how do you call it, the people that were supposed to check the how do you call it?
They didn't give us any gas. They gave us a motor
they didn't
without
any
gas.
gas. It wasn't your fault. It was their fault. Clearly.
Yeah, it was their fault. And I totally said, everyone, it's not my fault. They gave me no gas. So, but a pessimist would say something like, I should have checked that there was gas. I should have checked. That was my job. No, I blame them. So an optimist would blame someone else. And that's what we did. So this is basically what we want to do is if I say I did a bad job sailing, I don't blame myself. I tried to be realistic. They didn't give us enough gas. They didn't check the motor, and then they fixed it. That was it. And I didn't say I'm never going to sail again, but I could have. So I took more of an optimistic point of view, but other people could have taken a pessimistic point of view. Now, to go back with the experiment, over at MetLife, what they found is that they actually tested employees on whether they were optimistic or pessimistic. So what they found is that when they looked at all the people that they hired, they looked at the top 50% of people who were optimistic, the most optimistic people at the company. They sold 37% more insurance than the bottom 50% of optimists. Okay, that's a lot of money. Then they looked at the top 10% optimist versus the least optimistic. The top 10% optimistic people sold 88% more than the pessimists because they kept making those phone calls. They kept trying, they kept selling more. They were persevering. Like Adrian is a photographer and he had to do a sales campaign that required a lot of people potentially saying, no, I don't want to hire you. But he was very persistent and very persuasive, and he actually got some interesting clients from it. So the more optimistic you are, the more you're going to sell and the more money you will make. And Adrian's actually being pretty successful. Congratulations. So
sorry I interrupt, Michael.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just had this thought because, for example, I was thinking that maybe sometimes also pessimist can be like a right thing, no? Because I was thinking on a case which happened to my sister like long time ago when she was studying. She started studying architecture first, but then she started being a bit pessimist and like, no, I don't think this is for me, and I'm struggling with some courses, stuff like that. And at last, her decision was to change to marketing, and then she did an MBA, and like she changed to business basically, and she really loved her new career, and she's very successful nowadays. So I think maybe, well, at least in that case, being pessimist could help her, like help her way out. Or I don't know if it's other, maybe it's not being pessimist. I don't know.
What I would probably ask her, because I haven't met her, would be the job that you weren't doing very well, did you enjoy it? Were you passionate about it? And if she was not passionate about it, if you don't have passion, that's usually the number one cause why you don't do well. So I would probably ask that question first just to see. But typically, if we don't like what we're doing, we're not going to do well at it. And then the pessimism will add on to it. And then that would be a little bit of a different lecture. But in that way, I would encourage people to actually leave that job. If you don't get joy from it, then you might not want to be doing it. But if it's something that you want to do, like I wanted to sail, but sailing was hard, by staying optimistic, I was going to figure it out. So if she really liked that industry that she was in, if she really wanted to figure it out, being more optimistic, she probably would have figured it out. But if she said, nah, I don't like it, then maybe that's just being insightful that you should move to something that you really do enjoy.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay, Cami.
Yeah, so it was a question sort of similar to what Adrian just mentioned, like how to tell the difference between being realistic and being pessimistic. Is like, is it because maybe your reality or being realistic is kind of subjective, or you want to just base off happiness, or I'm not sure, because I struggle with that. Like, am I being too optimistic, or is this not realistic? And then I'm like, why couldn't it not be realistic? Like, I can make it possible. I don't know, like I cannot find sort of like.
I'll be giving you tools at the end of the lecture on what to do, but to give you the quickie spoiler alert, if you feel that you're being too pessimistic, just ask yourself, is it true? If you say things like, I'm a loser and I'm stupid, I'll never be a success, ask yourself, is that true? If the answer is no, you're probably being a little bit too hard on the pessimistic thinking. But you can also talk to other friends and say, hey, I don't think I paint very well, and I'm not getting good grades in art. Do you think that maybe I should not be an artist? And by asking other people who might be more realistic and not as emotional about it, they might give you some perspective of, Cami, you know what? I know you like art, but compared to other artists, I don't know that you're going to make a living at it. So this is where I would ask yourself, bringing in other people to get some opinions. So I do that all the time. I'm always asking other people, what do you think? What do you think? And I kind of like take a poll. But I'll be going through some specific things that you can do when it's time to give up, because we don't want to keep going if we're going down the wrong road. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of what I was going to. But
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, we'll strike that balance with you. Okay? So back to MetLife, what they did is they found that one of the challenges that they had is that only 30% of the applicants they had were actually scoring well enough to pass the initial exam. So they weren't actually hiring enough people because the test was so hard. But the people that did, 70% failed, 30% passed, they went to the interview. So let's say that Anya takes the test at MetLife and she passes it, she gets a 12. So she gets an interview. And let's say that Shin is the manager to interview Anya. And basically they said, Shin, if you like Anya, you can hire her. So very loose. It was not very rigid on what they were trying to test. And then she would get a job. But one of the challenges they had was that a lot of these high scoring people like Anya, the problem they had is that there were some people that ended up being hired that they weren't selling very well, but they also had a lot of people that weren't passing the exam. 70% were failing, so they didn't have enough salespeople on staff. So the question that they asked themselves at University of Pennsylvania was, could people that didn't do well on the exam be better salespeople? We don't know. They never got an interview. So we were questioning, were we even looking at the right thing? Now, here's what most people do when they do a hire is they want to know, are you smart? And do you want the job? So they're looking for aptitude and motivation. But look at this blind spot. So imagine that all of you are going to go to the Tokyo Olympics this summer, which got postponed, but imagine that we're all going to go to the Tokyo Olympics, okay? We're all amazing athletes. So you can choose whatever your thing is going to be. So you could be a runner, swimmer, we're all going to go to Tokyo for the Olympics. And you say to yourself, I'm an amazing athlete. I want to win the gold medal, but I think I'm going to lose. Do you think you're going to win at the Olympics in Tokyo with that attitude? Anya, what do you think?
I feel like if at the beginning you think that you're gonna lose because your mind is not gonna be the mind of a winner. So your actions are not going to do what you're supposed to do because you already think that you're gonna lose.
Correct. Exactly. So you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but your brain is going to control your body more. So this person is a great athlete, but they're too pessimistic. But now, what about this person? I'm an amazing athlete. I want to win the gold medal, and I can win it. Think that person could win the gold medal with that kind of attitude? Yeah. So this is only the difference between optimism and pessimism, but it's the same athlete. And this is what they started to change at MetLife is they added a question to the interview. Are you smart? So imagine that Shin wants to get the job. So they say, Shin, are you smart? Shin, do you want it? Shin, do you think you can do the job? So by asking that third question is asking how optimistic do we think Shin is? And if he's optimistic, then he can get the job. So this is how they started to change how they hired people. So the next test they did is that they took 104 agents who they passed the old exam, the old career profile, and then they tested them for optimism. And they found that the most optimistic 25% of people in the group sold 50% more than anybody else. I see Karen has to go. Karen, thank you for coming. Thank you for waking up at 2 a.m. in Kenya. Have a good night. So the people that were hired, the most optimistic 25% sold 50% more, but the least optimistic 25% were 3 times more likely to quit. So those were the people that quit. It was the pessimists. So now we're starting to uncover who succeeds in the hiring process and who fails. When they combined both test scores, whether you're an optimist and whether you did well on the old form exam, people that scored in the top 50% sold 56% more than anybody else. So then they asked Penn to make a special study. They took 15,000 applicants and they said, we're going to hire 100 people just based on the old hiring method. But the goal too is that we were going to hire 100 people if they came in with high pessimism, but they failed the exam. So they're going to hire failures, people that failed the exam, but only by a little bit. You needed a 12, but they took people that got between a 9 and 11. So to train these 100 special people that should have never gotten an interview cost them $3 million to train them. So this was a $3 million experiment. And here's what they found, is that the people who were hired the old way, that they split people between pessimists and optimists, and the optimists outsold people by 8% and 31%. But the special force, the people that failed the test but were really, really optimistic, in year 1, they outsold by 21%, by year 2 by 57%, and in both years combined, almost 30%. So what they were finding was that just being optimistic actually was more important than being smart. And this is how you're going to raise your GPA. Doesn't matter how smart you are, it matters how optimistic you are. So if I can change your pessimism into optimism, we can explore raising your GPA without trying to raise your IQ. So now the new hiring policy at MetLife is that they will still take people who pass the old exam, but they have to score relatively high in optimism. They'll also take people who fail the exam, they just barely fail it, but then they're in the top 50% of optimism. So what this means is this is very similar to a college student that didn't get into the college they wanted to, but we're going to let them in anyhow. Because if we think they're optimistic, they could actually do better than someone who did get into the school. And I have found this at Holt and at Harvard, that my more optimistic students get higher grades, even though they're not smarter, they try harder. So this is where we're going to start to move into raising your GPA. So here's some interview questions that you could ask yourself as well as friends. You could also take a look at this as an entrance exam. So, and this, you can try this with your friends. Tell me about a great success and why it turned out that way, or tell me about a failure and why it turned out that way. And you can see based on personalization, permanence, and pervasiveness, what they say to you is going to let you know whether or not you're an optimist or pessimist, or whether you're changing. So remember, if you talk about a success and why did it turn out that way, an optimist is going to say, I'm great. A pessimist will say, I'm awful. An optimist will say, life is good. A pessimist will say, life is bad. An optimist is going to say, hey, I had great timing, or things didn't work well because it rained. An optimist would say, yeah, it rained, but I'll always be okay. A pessimist would say, I'll never get it. See these words, always and never? These are pessimistic words. And then we also take a look at the situation. Do you say that it was the situation that was the problem, or is this everywhere? So optimists say it's the situation. Hey, we got great seats. I couldn't see at the concert because, Adrian's too tall, but at the next concert, he's not going to be sitting in front of me. So that's actually optimistic. An optimist would say, I can have fun anywhere. A pessimist would say, trouble follows me around. And this is how we're actually going to be able to increase our GPA. So take a look at yourself and feel free to raise your hand if you want to share with us what kind of things you say to yourself when you don't do well on a test. So take a look at the pessimist. So assume that we got a bad grade. The pessimist will say, I will never do anything well. So they make it about themselves. They make it permanent, never, and pervasive, anything. But an optimist would say something like, the tests this semester are poorly written. So you notice how on a certain level, they don't look like they're taking responsibility. They're not blaming themselves, they're blaming the test. And they're only talking about this test, this semester. They make it temporary. And it says the test was poorly written. So to be more optimistic, when you get a bad grade, make the reason about something else, make it temporary, and make it local. Now, we still want you to take responsibility for what you've done, but we don't want to say things like, I'm an idiot or I'm always going to be bad. Does anyone have any questions about how to change your inner voice when something bad happens, especially like bad grades? Does anyone need a different language or different tools? Kimmy.
So about this part, I just wanted to know, like, how do you find the difference between justifying everything and then being non-assuming, like justifying you not doing enough work or not enough studying, and then just being optimistic, justifying everything.
That's optimistic. So if you, let's say that you failed the test and you say, I failed the test because I didn't put enough time into studying, that's actually optimistic, because what you've done is that you've made it temporary and you've made it localized, that this test, just this one, I didn't do well because I didn't put in the hours. What it's going to allow you to do is say, okay, if I don't want to get that grade again, I need to put in more hours for the next exam. So now you're going to change your behavior.
Right.
So you can still say I didn't do well. But what we're trying to avoid is this big language, I'm an idiot, I'm never going to graduate, I'm never going to become a success, because that's going to make you not motivated to put in more hours to pass the test, because maybe you need to put in more hours. But it's the pessimistic language that we're trying to catch ourselves on, okay? Maria, what do you think of this so far? Because you mentioned that you sometimes have pessimistic thinking. Is this helpful to you?
It's really helpful.
Okay.
But at least when I say something pessimistic, it's like, I think it's kind of my personality, because after that, I just try to do the best. You know, I say, oh, I failed the test, it was the fault. And then I think like 2 days after, I think like, maybe if I studied more, I will have had good grades.
That's optimistic.
Yes, like first I'm pessimistic and I like have a mental breakdown, and then I realize it's like the five stages of when somebody dies.
Oh, the grief. Yeah, the five stages of grief.
It's
Okay.
like that.
Well, what we can do going forward is that we can just speed up the 5 stages of grief. We could actually,
Yes.
you're able to just skip it. You can
Exactly.
go right to this and say, okay, why did I not get the job? They didn't like me, or I didn't like them. It really didn't look, I didn't get along with the lady. I didn't get along with the guy. When you really think about it, I don't think I would have liked that job anyhow. So it doesn't have to be, I'm an idiot, I'm stupid, everyone
Yeah.
else is worth it. So when we start to use words like never and always, that's where we want to stop ourselves. And here's where we want to do the reframing. So reframing is talking to yourself a different way. So this is what a pessimist would say. I suck, I'm stupid, I suck at math, I'll never be any good, I'm always the worst. See how these are so many I's and never and always? These are clues that this is pessimistic thinking. This will not help you. What we want to do is that we want to reframe. So this score, meaning not me, this score, I've externalized it, was bad because I didn't put in the time. So you're still taking responsibility for not doing well, but you're articulating why. And you see how you can change this. You can change how much time you put into something next time. I didn't do well this time and I can act differently next time. That's very optimistic. I got to see, and I'm still smart and I can do well when I care. I don't do well at things that I don't care about. And there's plenty of things that I don't care about. And to Adrian's point, and also to Anya's point, when we asked about this earlier, when is it time to quit? If you don't like something and it doesn't bring you joy, there's a lot of other things you could be doing with your life. So maybe changing your major or changing your job is okay. You haven't lost any time. You haven't made a mistake. You've learned, hey, I don't like this. It took me a year to figure it out, and now I'm going to change. A lot of lawyers change being lawyers after they do it for a year or two. So here are some tips to remember. Adrian, yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. I have like something to say also. But for example, I really hate finance, but I know that it's something that I need in my life and I need to know it. So I'm still pessimist about it because I really hate it, but I know that I really need it in my life, so that's one point. Another thing I wanted to comment was, for example, I studied architecture. I don't have any like financial background, at least any professional one. And right now I'm studying an MBA. And for example, I say like, okay, maybe it's not that I'm not good at it, but maybe it's just that I don't have the background. Because when you start the MBA, they are teaching you like more advanced finance, so or economy or any business class, and sometimes I'm just like being negative or pessimist, like, okay, I'm not good at it, but then I think maybe it's not that I'm not good at it, I just don't have the background, and maybe I need to go by myself and review like some basics, you know, so I can catch up easily. And also then after knowing that I'm not good at it, sometimes I get good grades at those classes, and then I blame like the university, like, okay, everybody here just get good grades.
You just said something pessimistic, and I'm going to stop you. You said, I'm not good at it. You can say, I don't really like finance. I didn't get a very good grade on my quiz. You can stop there. If you say, I'm not good at it, then that's too pessimistic. Just stick with the facts. I didn't do very well on the quiz. I didn't do very well on the exam. I don't really like finance. We can stop there. That's okay. But here's some things that you could do. A lot of people who are very successful, they stick with what they're good at. Like you're with photography, your marketing is really good. You could hire someone like Anya to do your finances because she's a finance major. She enjoys that. She could say, I love it. Like, give me some money and I'll take care of your accounting for you. So you could hire that out. A lot of people, you can't do everything. This might be a good area for your business to hire someone, but this would also be a good idea for you and Anya to maybe get together at a later time on your own and say, Anya, I don't like finance. This is what I think of it. Why do you like it? And maybe she says something where you're like, oh, that might change. I never thought of it that way. Like Anya might say, I know I'll get rich. And you're like, oh, well, I care about that. So Anya, why don't you tell Adrian, why do you like finance? Maybe there's something you say that will help him.
Well, for me, I feel like everything that I learned was interesting since day one. It's like back where I come from in Haiti, everything is like superficial, and I feel like finance make it more real, and you see things and then like in a deeper level. And I honestly, like now, I don't know if I want to work in the financial field, but I feel like with the finance skills that I will get, I feel like I can do anything, because I feel like if you understand finance, there's nothing that you can do. So this is why I like it so much, because I feel like it opens you, it challenges you, and you understand money and how it works. So yeah, that's why I like finance.
So Adrian, did she say anything that gives you maybe a different way to look at finance that you're like, never thought about that?
Oh, well, I actually agree with her. I know it's really important and that it's like a basic thing you need like to succeed probably. I mean, I think it's something you need to know. For example, that was also my decision. Like, of course, I knew maybe I didn't like it that much, but I decided to start the MBA because I find it that it's really like necessary for life, not only for like in professional field, but also in personal field, like to know how to manage your personal finance. It's like, it's something really necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with her. Maybe it's also, maybe I'm saying that I don't like it because my pessimist Adrian inside me is like, you're not good at it, you don't like it. So focus on what you're good at it, you know? So maybe that's it.
I'd encourage you to just remove the I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
Once that cloud is out of the way, then you can see, do I like it or not? So maybe we just need to have clearer thinking. You could still say I don't like it. For example, I've taught the blockchain class at Harvard. I teach a blockchain class at Hult. I'm quitting. I don't like blockchain. I never did. I did it because it was popular. It was a fad. We had a lot of people that wanted to take our class. I thought it's something I should know about because it was like new technology. I don't think blockchain's a great idea. Artificial intelligence, I wish I had focused there because that's a great idea. And it's much more interesting than blockchain. So I'm going to stop teaching blockchain because I get more joy out of teaching this kind of class because I think it's more important. Blockchain, it doesn't bring me joy. I'm okay at it. I could do better, but I don't teach blockchain that well because I don't like it that much. And so that's when I've decided to quit. And I'm not being optimistic or pessimistic. I'm saying it doesn't bring me joy. And I want to do things that bring me joy, like positive psychology. So what I'll do is, this is my last slide. So I'll finish up on this and then we can either leave or I'll stay for questions and answers. So what I'd like you to take a look at is, remember to keep things as external as possible, like, you know, the quiz wasn't done really right, temporary and local. Beware of words like never and always. You can screenshot this if you like. And then challenge your pessimism. Like, is it true? I suck. I'm no good at it. Is it really true? And reframe it. Meaning look at it a different way. I'm teaching a class in China. I have 400 students this semester. And my teaching assistant, this is what she said to me the other day. I'll never afford a house. And I said, uh-oh, I teach optimism. What's the word never for? And this is what I had her change it to. I would love to have a house. That's true. The first statement's not true. She's 22 years old. You can't say you'll never afford a house because you don't know. So that is today's lesson. And any questions before we finish up today? My goal is to try to make these classes about an hour so that we pop in and pop out. So it's our first class, so I'll try to make it shorter next time. Any questions about today's class? We're good. Shin, I know that English is new for you and you're learning really well. Did you understand today's lecture? Like am I talking fast enough, too slow, too fast? How was it?
Yeah, that's okay. No worries.
Okay, did you learn anything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Maria, any takeaways from today's class that you might use into the real world tomorrow?
I'm going to stop being pessimistic. It's a process, but like it encouraged me to like change.
Beautiful. Just be nice to yourself. You know, it's a habit. You know, you've been doing it for over 20 years. It can take a while to change. So just be gentle with yourself. Anya, yes.
I want to add something too that can help with stop being pessimistic is the fact like avoiding to say like negative words, like saying I'm gonna try to stop being pessimistic. Instead of saying that, you can say I'm gonna be optimistic. Like I read something, I think it was in The Secret. It says every time that you put not in the universe doesn't really hear the not. So it's like I do not want this, the universe will hear I want this. So then by not saying the negative word, like, and if you change the way that you say things are gonna go your way. So I feel like changing the way that we talk is gonna help you better also.
Anya makes a great point. Imagine if I said, let's say if I'm a smoker. I don't smoke. I used to, but what if I said, oh, I don't want to smoke? The universe is hearing I want to smoke, and I get a craving. But what if I said, I want to breathe clean air. I want to have fresh lungs. I'm not going to get a craving to smoke because I didn't say smoke. So Anya makes a great point. Try to keep your words positive. If you see a contraction like don't, not, the N words tend to be like more on the negative side, like not. Just be mindful of the words that you say. And Anya makes a great point. You know, try to make them positive, like flip them around. So like she said, instead of saying, I'm going to try to be not as pessimistic, what's the opposite of that? I'm going to be more optimistic. So a little more sunshine on that one. It takes a while. It takes a while, but you will get there. Anya, thanks for bringing that up. Anything else before we finish up today? I want to add a comment on what Adrienne said earlier about not liking finance and not being good at it. I can say that I wasn't good at finance in the beginning too, but I just feel like if you do the work, you just have to just put more than anyone else. And when you put more work than anyone else, it becomes easier for you. And when it becomes easier, you start appreciating it. You don't have to love it, but then it becomes easier to get the work done. So I feel like it's always hard when you have to put the extra work, but when you do it, everything becomes easier. I find the same thing. Like, I'm going to graduate school at Penn, And I stopped teaching for a semester because I can't do both. A smarter person could. I have to put in more time and more hours to do well because I want to do well at Penn. And, you know, next semester, hope will be there. So I'm just putting in more hours. So I'm doing exactly what Anya said. If I'm not great at it, just put in more hours and you'll be great at it. Shin's a baseball player. So he knows if you want to be a better baseball player, play more. You want to be a better sailor? Sail more. Just put in the extra time. And things that you're naturally great at, you don't have to put too much time in. So, Anya, you're saying such good things. It's your turn to teach the class next time. Okay, everyone. I think we're good for the night. I hope you have a great weekend. And I'll be texting you on WhatsApp to see if this is a good time that we could meet every week, if we could have a routine. If this is a good time, great. Invite people for the next session. You know, the bigger this gets, the greater. You know, like my Chinese class is 400 people. If this had 400 people, I would love it. I think that would be great. So feel free to invite people. And I will record this and I'll put this up on YouTube. Let me just ask permission. Is everyone okay with me putting this on YouTube, or would you rather me not, because people can see your faces? Raise your hand if you're okay with the YouTube. Look at Anya. Yeah, okay. You'll be famous. You're going to be famous. Okay, everyone. So let's open up our mics and say have a good weekend, everybody, okay?
Professor, sorry, I wanted to ask you about a book.
Yes.
Yeah, so I recently did, well, not ask you, I just wanted to mention or kind of like let you know, I found this book that is called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Did you read it?
Yeah, he made a revised one. It's called The 5 Agreements now.
Oh, sorry. I just discovered it, and it's so crazy because it has so many similarities to, I know I mention Landmark all the time, but it has a lot of kind of connections. So yeah, I was just gonna tell you like to check it out, but I think you already checked it out.
Yeah, I think, Shin, did I send you The 4 Agreements in Japanese? Did I send you?
Yes, I have 2 books, English one and Japanese one.
And,
right.
Yeah, yeah, both are 4 agreement. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think of The 4 Agreements, Shin?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't read all of the books, but some are really good, I think. Yeah.
I think
But yeah, go ahead.
one of my favorite lines from The 4 Agreements was, do your best for today.
Yeah.
So like I used to do yoga really well. Like I was really good at it. And now I'm not as good at it. And I could be down on myself about that and not feel good about it. But now I'm like, okay, I'm at yoga class. That's good enough. And I'm doing my best for today, even though 2 years ago I was better and I'm not. So it's another way of allowing yourself to be nicer to yourself. But you could also Google, I'll put into the chat, you can Google book summary, The 4 Agreements. But like I say, it's up to the 5 agreements now. But I think The 4 Agreements was the best. The 5th one, it's not that big.
Yeah, I didn't finish yet, but it's really good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. Actually, let me see if I can give it to you guys. I think I have it in my, hold on 1 second. Let me look for it. I have a PDF.
It helps with, I feel like it also helps a lot with kind of anxiety and people that overthink, like personally, I feel like, because, you know, it mentions about assumptions and about integrity. What else was it?
Oh, here it is.
Assumptions, integrity.
Okay, I'm just putting the book into the chat right now. So Shin, I think this is the book that I had sent you last time. It's actually, it's not that long. It's not like 500 pages. It's not that long, but this is a free version that I got off the internet. So you're welcome to take a look at it. And I think the book might have a summary page at the back because you don't really need to read the whole book. It could actually be condensed pretty shortly. But the 4 agreements are pretty good. Okay. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
Konnichiwa.
Thank you.
Arrivederci. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.